Imagine someone who walks into a room and answers every question, sometimes correctly, often not, yet never flinches. They confidently give advice they learned 5 minutes ago, take unnecessary risks, and barely notice the cost. That confident smile makes them persuasive, magnetic, and often successful at first glance. But under the surface, their certainty hides predictable patterns, biased thinking, fragile self-worth, and decision-making that can backfire. Today we'll explore why people become overconfident, how that confidence shapes their behavior, and what it means for relationships, leadership, and personal growth. Overconfidence is one of the most common and most consequential psychological biases. It's when someone's subjective confidence in their judgments, knowledge, or abilities exceeds objective accuracy. We see it everywhere. Investors convinced they'll beat the market, managers promising impossible deadlines, friends who swear they always know the right thing to do. Overconfidence can propel people forward and earn them followers, but it also leads to costly mistakes and damaged trust. Understanding the psychology beneath this bold facade helps us recognize it in others and in ourselves. Several psychological mechanisms create and sustain overconfidence. First, our brains simplify complex realities, and that cognitive shortcut can produce the Dunning-Kruger pattern. People with limited skills overestimate their competence because they lack the meta-knowledge to see their errors. Second, motivation matters. Overconfidence protects self-esteem. Admitting uncertainty feels risky. Claiming certainty shields identity. Third, social rewards amplify the effect. Confident speakers attract attention, influence decisions, and often receive praise, which reinforces the behavior. Finally, situational factors like time pressure, group dynamics, and incomplete feedback encourage quick, confident claims rather than cautious analysis. Behaviorally, overconfident people make bold predictions, underestimate risks, and dismiss contradictory evidence. They prefer simple explanations, avoid questions that might expose gaps, and overcommit to courses of action. In groups, they may dominate discussions, suppress dissent, and create echo chambers. In leadership, overconfidence can speed decisions, but also blind organizations to warning signs. In personal life, it can strain relationships when promises repeatedly fail to materialize. Not all confidence is bad. Confident action can be adaptive, but overconfidence skews the balance between optimism and realism. The costs of overconfidence can be substantial. In business, it contributes to failed projects, financial losses, and reputational damage. In medicine, it can lead clinicians to overlook diagnoses. In everyday life, it causes avoidable conflicts and missed learning opportunities. Overconfident people also face a social penalty. Once their errors are revealed, they lose credibility faster than cautious people lose trust. Paradoxically, the very trait that initially attracts followers can produce long-term isolation and failure. You can spot overconfidence by listening for patterns, absolute language such as "I'm certain" or "definitely," unwillingness to entertain alternatives, quick dismissal of feedback, and excessive reliance on gut feeling. Watch for inconsistency between big claims and little proof. Also notice how someone reacts to being wrong. Do they accept it, learn and adjust, or double down and deflect? The latter is a red flag for entrenched overconfidence. Feedback, reflection, and real-world consequences help reduce overconfidence. People who receive clear, timely feedback learn to calibrate their judgments. Humbling experiences, big failures, or public corrections can prompt introspection and change. Conversely, if someone is insulated by flattery, privileged feedback, or echoing social circles, overconfidence will persist. Personality traits matter too. High narcissism and low openness predict more persistent overconfidence. There are practical ways to handle overconfidence in others and in yourself. When dealing with overconfident people, ask clarifying questions, request evidence, invite alternative viewpoints, and set concrete milestones that reveal progress or lack of it. Use Socratic questions rather than direct confrontation. People are more likely to reconsider when they generate doubts themselves. For self-checks, cultivate intellectual humility, track your predictions against outcomes, seek disconfirming evidence, and run pre-mortems, where you imagine why a plan might fail. For teams, institutionalize feedback loops, encourage dissent, use anonymous forecasting or red teaming, and tie incentives to realistic metrics rather than just bold promises. Think of a startup founder who promises explosive growth and convinces investors with charisma. Early gains mask weak fundamentals. Without critical feedback, the founder doubles down on risky hires and unrecoverable spending. A market shift reveals the gap between talk and reality. Funding dries up and failure follows. Had the team practiced structured challenge, devil's advocates, and staged milestones, the outcome might have been different. Overconfidence is a double-edged sword. It fuels action and attracts followers, yet it blinds and isolates when unchecked. The goal isn't to eliminate confidence, but to balance it with curiosity, humility, and systems that expose errors early. By recognizing the signs, giving and receiving honest feedback, and building habits that test beliefs, we can keep confidence useful and avoid the pitfalls that come with being too sure of ourselves. Next time you meet someone who seems unshakably certain or feel that certainty in yourself, pause and ask one simple question: what would convince me I'm wrong?